In 1983, Ray Boundy had been living a life he always enjoyed in the beautiful city of Townsville in northern Australia. The father of two was the captain of the new venture, a 45-foot trawler boat. He was also very experienced. On Friday, July 22nd, Ray and his crew boarded the new venture and were off on their journey out into the open sea. Also on board with Ray was a second captain, 23-year-old Dennis Murphy, who, like Ray, also had multiple years of experience on the open sea. The third member of the crew was 21-year-old Linda Horton, who was Ray's girlfriend. Her primary goal was to cook for everyone. The crew was headed to an area between Townsville and the Great Barrier Reef, because the waters in this area were known for great fishing, so they had plans of staying in the area for a few weeks. While the first few days of the trip were very uneventful, the crew even laughing it up and having a good time while out on the open seas. As the trio continued, they just relished and enjoyed Mother Nature. It is now the night of July 22nd, and quite contrary to the earlier days, the seas have now become quite rough and very dangerous. As the captain and his girlfriend continue to try to keep the ship afloat, as the clock strikes midnight, the seas become even rougher, making it nearly impossible for the captain to navigate through the rough seas. As the captain and Linda struggle to keep it afloat, Dennis notices a huge wave approaching the ship on the deck and decides to jump overboard before it hits. As the ship capsizes, Ray and Lindy, who were blindsided by the wave, were blessed to have been caught in an air pocket, in which they were able to escape out of the wheel well back into the open ocean, where they all regrouped. As the three of them got together, they realized the gravity of the situation that they were now in. They were treading water in the middle of the ocean with no land in sight in the middle of the night. And luckily they were able to grab onto the overturned hull of the boat. As the three of them assessed their dire situation, Ray informed the both of them that according to his last coordinates, they were at least 95 kilometers from Townsville and at least 45 kilometers from the nearest island. Understanding that swimming these distances, even given the fact that they were great swimmers, is nearly impossible, their next best option would be to try to swim to the Great Barrier Reef. Authorities believe that the crew likely assumed that it would be safer to swim to the reef rather than stay with the boat, which a rescue would take too long and that the boat would probably sink before they were rescued. As the three of them continued to decide what they were going to do, they gathered some items, styrofoam and other items, to try and make a makeshift surfboard. As the three of them prepared for their swim, they dove into the water and began their swim towards the Great Barrier Reefs. The Great Barrier Reefs are known for prime fishing, beautiful waters, but they're also known for sharks, very deadly sharks, and the trio knew this. It is now Monday night, and things have been going fine up to this point, when all of a sudden, the trio notices a fin break the surface of the water. They group together in horror. Being no stranger to ocean wildlife, Ray quickly warns the others that this is a shark. As Dennis and Linda become increasingly fearful, Ray assures them that shark attacks are rare, at least under normal circumstances. At this point, the trio have been traveling for hours, paddling and watching for the shark, when suddenly Ray notices something around his legs that brushes up against him. But before he could react, the shark quickly turned and bit him. The now 15-foot tiger shark is now encircling them. As the 15-foot tiger shark sunk its teeth into Ray's thigh, he was able to kick it, repelling it briefly. However, the shark has now tasted blood, and the trio knew that they were in trouble. Second to the great white shark and even bull sharks, tiger sharks can grow lengths of up to 16 feet long and are extremely aggressive. While most sharks have an upper jaw for piercing and a lower jaw for grasping and holding its prey, the tiger shark can use both its upper and lower jaw for both grasping and cutting its prey, resulting in some of the most gruesome shark attacks on record. As the night progresses, panic sets in as the swimmers know they must reach the barrier islands, which is still a ways off, and they're only about a quarter of a mile there, with a tiger shark hot on their tail and one of them bleeding. About 10 minutes passes, and to their horror they notice a large dorsal fin surfacing again. And within a few minutes, Dennis yells out and screams in agony that the bastard's got my leg, it's got my leg. As Ray yelled out to Dennis to kick the shark, he was hoping that the shark would release him as he did with himself, being that it was an exploratory bite the first time. Only this time, the tiger shark has launched a predatory attack on Dennis and didn't let go, leaving Ray and Linda in horror watching Dennis be lifted in and out of the water until finally they tried swimming over to him. What they noticed is that the water became increasingly darker with his blood, and as Ray reached Dennis, he noticed that his leg was gone. After reaching Dennis, the two frantically searched for a tourniquet to try and stop the bleeding, when to their horror, the fin resurfaces and starts heading towards them again. At this point, Dennis realizes he is not going to survive this ordeal and doesn't want to take his friends down with him, so he frantically starts swimming away from them to draw the shark away from him. To their horror, they realize they can't do anything to save their friend, and as they swim away, they look back and realize he was lifted out of the water one final time before disappearing beneath the waves in the shark's mouth. At this point, Linda cannot process what she's just seen and starts screaming frantically. At this point, Ray grabs her and shakes some sense into her, reminding her that they must make it to the reef in order to survive. Otherwise, Dennis's sacrifice would have been in vain. After 2 hours of swimming with no interruptions, it seems as if the trio is making progress until they notice the shark's fin breaks the surface again, and this time it starts circling Ray and Linda. Once again, praying that the shark goes away, the two grab hands and hold on tight to one another. But to their horror, the shark breaks its circling and comes straight for Linda, biting into her chest and her arm, pulling so hard it ripped her from Ray's grasp. During this time, Linda only had time enough to let out a little squeal before the shark swam off with her in his mouth. At this point, Ray quickly turns around and starts swimming as fast as he can towards the Lodestone Reef, which he knew he was close to, and he could see it. As the mariner continued swimming towards the reef, he noticed the shark's fin break again and start coming after him. At this point, and with adrenaline kicking in, Ray is swimming as fast as he ever has in his entire life. And just then, as if it were divine intervention, Ray notices a huge wave, which allows him to ride it in towards the reef, getting him effectively away from the shark. As the exhausted 27-year-old reaches the reef, the gravity of his situation dawns upon him, and he lets out a cry. At 10:40 on Tuesday morning, Ray was finally picked up by an Australian rescue helicopter pilot who had been searching for them since the storm started on that previous Sunday. Despite captaining a new boat and getting on with his life as a fisherman, Ray stated that the traumatic experience of these few days would never ever leave him. Rest in peace to his comrades. And now you've heard the facts surrounding the movie The Reef, which was based on Ray's true story. please like, share, and subscribe to Where in the World is Frank and Gina on YouTube. God bless.